Grand Rising. How you doing? This is your coach Renz, and we are going live back again. Now, we give about 5 minutes before we get started, but if you find us for the first time, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button because you want to be here. We are a Christian deconstruction page where we deconstruct from Christianity. We deconstruct from it, and today is our What is Wrong with the Bible series that we've been doing. If you have missed any of these, then all you got to do is go to my YouTube channel. And on my YouTube channel, you will be able to see all the previous videos. Just go into the go into the playlist. You'll be able to see all of them. Let me fix this one real quick. There we go. So we're getting started. Giving people about 5 minutes to get on. It's been hopefully everybody had a great little break there. I discovered this new cigar. I knew about it, but I never had it. And I tell you, this thing is so good with coffee. Oh my God, it's good with coffee. But, so today's What's Wrong with the Bible. We are in Numbers 24 and 25. We're going to just stick with it. Go through it as we normally do, word for word. Like I said, if you want to find some of the older ones on my YouTube page, you can go through the playlist and you can see what we started from Genesis and we went all the way through. And now we are here. And this one is going to be interesting. If you was with us last week, then we was in Numbers 22 and 23. And, this is the whole story with Balaam and the talking donkey, and how idiotic that story was and how it didn't make sense from the donkey's perspective, from Balaam's perspective, from the angel perspective, and how Balaam, who wasn't one of the Israelites, but is using divination as the mouthpiece of this guy. And we're going to see some more of that in this chapter 24. And how they wanted to put a curse on Israel and they just couldn't get the curse going. Who was it? Balak couldn't get the curse going. So we talked about all of that last week on 22 and 23 with Balaam and the talking donkey. And then, of course, as always, after we finish going through whatever the initial title of the subject matter, we always seem to go and diverge into 11 other conversations. Grand Rising Debbie. If you're on my YouTube or Facebook, you'll be able to see everybody's you'll be able to see the comments that I respond to. If you're on YouTube, you won't be able to. On TikTok, sorry. We did just start streaming again on TikTok as well. So I want to appreciate over the weekend, especially for some of the videos that I posted, some of the gifts that people gave. I really appreciate those gifts. I never asked for them, but I do want to acknowledge my appreciation for it. Grand Rising Wayne up in Philly. It's cold up there. It's cold in Grand Rising. What is it? Hasbullah from India. I think you might be the first person from India that I've ever had on, who's in India. So cool. So we're about 45 seconds from getting started with today's conversation with Numbers, and we're gonna finish. We're gonna finish the whole Balaam storyline, which just came out of nowhere in the book. That we conquered some people, we killed the Amorites, and then bam, here's this story with a talking donkey. So now, are you in the hub of Russia in India? Okay, gotcha. For Russians. Gotcha. In your Goa. So we're going to finish up with Balaam's storyline, which came out of nowhere. And then we're going to go into some vigilantism and some crazy sexual stuff with the Israelites and Grand Rising Key. So y'all ready to get started? Ready to get started on 24 and 25. Let me pull it up so we can, as I used to say back in the day, so we can kick this pig. So we're in Numbers 24, and I do read the whole thing, and I stop and we talk about different parts for those who are new and finding us for the first time, because we seem to have some new people on here already. So now when Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel. So like I said, Balaam, if you was with us last week, Balaam is not an Israelite, but he saw that it was pleasing to please this deity. So understand, people back then were henotheistic. They believed that everybody God actually existed, but this is your primary God. So he saw that pleased the Lord to bless Israel. He did not resort to divination at the other time, but turned his face towards the wilderness. Now you know how you're told not to go into don't use divination, don't cast spells, don't do all. But Balaam's cast spells and use divinations to talk to this guy. But this time, he's not going to use divination. He's going to use the art of channeling. And I'm saying this before we get into it, because I want you to already have it in your mind. You know how people say, oh, I got, God is in every other time in this book, it's talking about God said to Moses, God said to Aaron, God said to Abraham. In this instance, he's channeling God. When Balaam, so he said he did not resort to divination as at other times, but turned his face towards the wilderness. When Balaam looked out and saw Israel encamped, tribe by tribe, the Spirit of God came on him, and he spoke his message. Channeling, which is something you ain't supposed to do. Grand Rising Renee, you in the Bahamas? Oh, and you didn't invite us. That's we gonna keep on going. The prophecy of Balaam, son of Beor. The prophecy is one whose eyes see clearly. The prophecy of one who hears the words of God, who sees a vision from the Almighty, who falls prostrate and whose eyes are open. How beautiful are your tents, Jacob, your dwelling place, Israel. It could have just said Israel, your dwelling place, Israel. Like valleys, they spread out, like gardens beside a river, like aloes planted by the Lord, like cedars beside the waters. Waters will flow from their buckets. Their seeds will have abundance of water. Their king will be greater than Agag. Their kingdom will be exalted. I do want to stop right there for a second. It's very interesting here that it's already repeating some things that is already said before, because like the Bible, it needs to fill up the space. But when it mentions here their king will be greater than Agag, there is later on in the Bible a king whose name is Agag. So how is it that he could, if this was happening in real time, the people wouldn't understood a word that he was talking about? Who is Agag? What are you talking about? Kingdom greater than Agag. Now, there are some apologists who will say that Agag is a title, much the same way that Pharaoh is a title. But in truth, Agag is, in the Bible, Agag is mentioned as an individual person. So this person ain't even born yet. So that it wouldn't even make sense to the people at this time frame. It only makes sense if you're writing this book in between 700 and 500 BCE, and you already know the history of a king whose name was Agag in this area. So if you're, and that's how we have to understand how this book was written. It's written as is written in first person, but it's written hundreds of years after the first person actions actually happened. So it would be like me writing a first person account of the life of Martin Luther King or the civil rights movement as if I was there. But since I already know what happens after, in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, the 2000s, then I can write prophecies in the civil rights movement, or I can mention certain people that they're like this that haven't even been born yet. But so that's how it's written. So they wrote as if they already knew who Agag was and just inserted him in here. So to continue. But God brought them out of Egypt. They have the strength of a wild ox. They devour host nations and break their bones in pieces. With their arrows, they pierce them. Like a lion, they crouch and lie down. Like a lioness who dares to rouse them. May those who bless you be blessed, and those who curse you be cursed. So that's a repetitive thing that we've already seen in this book before. And I'm going to take 1 second to acknowledge a statement. I might do a separate video about this later, but this is something I'm not trying to be rude, my guy over here on Facebook, but this is about the dumbest goddamn statement one of the dumbest statements I keep hearing from people. You obviously did not leave religion fully if you're still entertaining this stuff. Believers don't even care because most don't read the Bible. It's just social. I get Christians and non-Christians alike who say, just because I'm teaching people how and what they need to know to deconstruct and why the Bible is so jacked up, that means I haven't left the religion. Understand the difference between somebody who's in a religion and somebody who's just talking about the dang old religion. I mean, it's like I'm going to take the smallest little thread of childlike logic. And I know I'm being rude right now, and I don't mean to be this way towards you, More Grace. And it's not just you, it's multiple people who keep saying this. And I find this repetitive, low logic mindset to drive me a little bit insane, because when I leave America, I leave America. I physically leave the place. But if I'm over in another country and I'm talking about America, it doesn't mean that I'm still in America. No, it doesn't. Not at all. So this mentality is just because we talk about it, because we discuss it, because I'm helping people to walk away from it, because I still study it, and so that people can have even more information about it, doesn't mean I'm still in it. That's just you talking about my religion, and I want you to be quiet and stop talking about my religion. That's what that is. And I don't know if you're still Christian or not, but so it's not just at you. You just happen to put it up there. And I read about 4 different comments like that this morning. And it's like, are y'all serious? Sorry. So I went on a little tangent there. My bad. If I insulted you, Grace, I'm not trying to insult you. All right. But for somebody like myself, and I will say that I think deeply about things, when I get shallow thoughts on something, when people think shallow, it does drive me a little bit crazy. Especially when people believe in this religion. So anyway, I said we're going to stay on the lesson before we get off into our tangents, but I happen to see that one and I might forget by the time we get to the end. So we're going to get back to the lesson, back to our deconstructing. All right. Okay. Back to the deconstruction. No. So he just gave a whole spiel that is very similar. He just gave a whole spiel about what that we've heard before about them being like lioness and all this sort of thing. And so this is Balaam just giving all kind of credit to them. Then Balak, anger burned against Balaam. He struck his hand together and said to him, and you know, when I saw this part in my mind, I saw, look, this is what I'm saying. He said to him, I summoned you to curse my enemies, but you have blessed them these 3 times. Because they did it 3 times. They thought if I do it from 3 different perspectives, that you might need it. Look at it from this angle. Look at it from that angle. Now leave at once and go home. I said I will reward you handsomely, but the Lord has kept you from being rewarded. This is why you get your money. When you go to provide services for people, make sure you get your money before. Make sure you get your money before you do your work. Get that deposit, you know, because this joke is just straight up said, nah, I ain't gonna pay you now. I ain't paying you. But I can just, it's just every time I read this, I see Black like, look, I told you, because he said he struck his hand. Then Balaam answered, and he was probably going back at him. Did I not tell the messenger you sent to me? Even if Balak gave me all the silver and gold in the palace, I could not do nothing on my own accord, good or bad. To go beyond the command of the Lord, and I must say only the Lord, what the Lord says. Now I'm going back to my people, but come, let me warn you of what this people will do to your people in these days to come. Now, you can always go back to this part when people try to say that Balaam worshiped the God of Israel, but he didn't, because he separates himself in this statement right here as well. Grand Rising Gerald, and Grand Rising everybody who I haven't spoken to. I usually call the names out. But so Balaam going to clap back at him, right? And he's going to clap back with 4 different messages. But in that part, Balaam clearly states that he is not part of the Israelite people. So he is not a worshiper of this Israelite God, but he is only doing what this Israelite God is supposedly telling him to do. Now, how illogical is that, right? That you would get here's a person who doesn't worship your God, but your God is going to speak to them. And then afterwards, it's not that Balaam went through some kind of conversion. He remains a worshiper of his own God, but Balaam is known as a conduit for the different gods, right? So Balaam got 4 messages, and he gonna clap back for old boy not saying that I ain't gonna pay you now. Then he spoke this message: the prophecy of Balaam, son of Beor, the prophecy of one whose eyes sees clearly, the prophecy of one who hears the words of God, who has, and it's interesting, it just said the words of God, not Lord, capital Lord, just God, who has knowledge from the Most High, who sees the vision of the Almighty, who falls prostrate and whose eyes are open. I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star will come out of Jacob. We're going to come back to that one. A scepter will rise out of Israel. He will crush the foreheads of Moab, the skulls of the people of Sheth. Edom will be conquered. Seir, his enemy, will be conquered. But Israel will grow strong. A ruler will come out of Jacob and destroy the survivors of the city. It's some badass shit right here. This is bad right here. Now, my man here is going straight up talking about how Israel gonna conquer all y'all, gonna crush the foreheads of the Moab, the skulls of the people of Seth. And if somebody were to escape, they gonna kill all the survivors as well. So when people come on and they say, when did this guy command for genocide or murder? There are plenty of opportunities. Here is such one where the children of Israel is going to kill everybody. But many Christians have tried to use this line here where it says that a star will come out of Jacob, or you can interchange the name Jacob and Israel over and over again. But when he says a star will come out of Jacob, many Christians try to say that that is the coming of Jesus. But that was a prophecy about Jesus or a prophecy about the Star of Bethlehem. But when did this person who the star is supposed to represent, when did Jesus crush the foreheads of Moab, the skulls of the people of Seth, that Edom will be conquered, Seir and his enemy will be conquered? But when did all of this happen? And destroy the city, the survivors of the city. In all honesty, I think it's easy. It will be more, it would hold more water if they would relate this star to David more so than relating this star to Jesus, because it actually fits David more than Jesus, because David did go out and conquer a lot of people. So it fits. Like, it's not 100% certain, but it is said that somewhere in the Bible, Jacob does go and defeat, I think in Psalms, he goes and he defeats the Edomites, so it would have made more sense. It makes more sense for Christians to recognize this star prophecy statement is referring to David. And no, it does not refer to the end times. Here we go. You know what? I'm telling y'all right now, I'm on one today. Y'all lucky we were doing this lesson right now, because I'm on one today, because I saw another comment that I would go off on. I'm on one today because I'm going to go ahead and say it. Y'all little bullshit excuse of you lack understanding. You motherfuckers cannot handle the information. You have no words that could actually deal with the information. So you throw out your little one-line bullshit. You lack understanding. You don't have the spirit, so you don't know. Revelations. You don't know how to communicate any information that would invalidate anything that I'm talking about. And if you could, I would readily admit it. But you ain't got shit to say. Yeah. Let me do like some of them people doing. 2024 about to be different for Coach Renus. I ain't about to take y'all little bullshit no more. Y'all finna catch it. Because usually I ignore most of these people because it's a low-level mindset. Oh, you lack understanding. No, motherfucker. Basically, what you're saying is I don't agree with you. You believe in something that you don't have facts about. And since I don't believe with you, because belief is the absence of facts, or faith is the absence of facts, then I must lack understanding. Yeah, I lack the understanding to blindly just believe some bullshit without anything to back it up. You are absolutely right. I will lack the hell out of that understanding my entire life, because that's some bullshit. Taquan, no. I don't do debates, Taquan. You know that. I brought you on my channel that one time, but I don't debates, and you already know it. So let me continue. Because, see, Balaam. We talking about my man Balaam up here. Balaam done dropped the bomb on these jokers. I told him, look him. And I know it's pronounced Balaam, but I like Balaam. It's like Balaam. So he basically, tell them that the Israelites, they badass. They gonna kick y'all butt. And like I said, Balaam is not a member of the Israelite community. He's a stranger, which is interesting. If you think about it, this guy, earlier in Numbers, this guy was always, when he's talking to the Israelite, he's mean as shit. I'm gonna curse you, I'm gonna plague you, I'm gonna kill you, all this kind of stuff. How long I gotta deal with you little bastards, everything. He's like straight up like, with them. But now he got Balaam, who is not part of his group, and he's dealing with Balak, and he's all like, Israel will be strong, and Israel's gonna kill you, and Israel is great, and It sounds like, you ever met that person or you've been with that person where in public they got you like they praising you. They like, you so great. Oh, this is my spouse and they so wonderful and so great and they so lovely. or that parent who got you in front of everybody and you got you dressed all nice and everything, but then get you home and be like, you ain't shit, or try to control you, or tell you that you're doing everything wrong. It's like in this instance, Israel is so great, but then in the previous chapter, Israel, y'all some assholes. Like this guy he has a personality conflict. He got a personality problem with this guy. Seriously got a problem. All right. So we're gonna continue. He got some more stuff because he finna Oprah these jokers. Balaam is about to do some Oprah. So he just told Balak them. Then Balaam saw Amalek and spoke his message. Amalek was first among the nations, but their end will be utterly destruction. Then he saw the Kenites and spoke his message. Your dwelling place is secure. Your nest is set in a rock. Yet you Canaanites will be destroyed when Ashur takes you captive. Then he spoke his message. Alas, you can live when God does this. I mean, who can live when God does this? Ships will come from the shores of Cyprus. They will subdue Ashur and Eber. But they too will come to ruin. Then Balaam got up and returned home, and Balak went on his way. It's like at the end, Balaam was like, and you gonna get killed, and you gonna get killed, and you gonna get killed, and you get killed, and you get destroyed, and you get destroyed, and you get destroyed. He straight Oprah them jokers. And you get a killing, and you get a killing. Okay, let me see. I know I missed a whole. That's the end of 24. We're gonna go into 25 in just a second. I know I missed a lot of comments on here. I'm not gonna scroll all the way back to the top. Now, I do want to give you a chance to respond. If you need someone to explain this to you, then you're still dealing with indoctrination. Still dealing. Okay, more grace. So I don't even understand your thought process here. So maybe I cussed out more grace and I shouldn't have cussed him out. I'm not sure. If I did and I wasn't supposed to, I will apologize. But I get those statements all the time. It drives me and it gets on my nerve. Taquan, you can have the moral and dogma book, but unless you're a member of the lodge, you have no idea what that book is actually talking about. And like I said, I don't do debates. See, this is what I'm talking about. Khalif Bell, if I'm saying that right, Khalif. You're trying to denounce the teachings in the Bible, so you have to prove it wrong. All you have is misleading theories. No. You see, I desired to and really wanted to be Christian as I grew up. I used to plead and beg, and I used to study, and I used to do everything necessary. I was begging and praying this God to lead me in the pathway and give me understanding and all the other good shit. And mind you, I'm 52 years old. So I'm not new to this game. You have no idea of my history. But from as far back as I can remember until about age 27, not 27, 37. I wanted nothing more than to be Christian, right? Between 27 and 37, started moving out of that. I started moving out of it. That's why I said 27. But I wanted nothing more than to be Christian. That's all I wanted to be, as far as this was concerned. I was a deacon and all the stuff. But the more I studied, the more it made me, the more I saw how wrong the book was. And so I walked away from it. It's not misleading theories. It's called studying. And if a person truly studied this book without a landing point, you're going to land, and you're not going to land you in where you stay with this book. You would have to make the conscious decision to ignore everything that you study. This is the Most High did to Israel what it did to all the nations that disrespected his law. Man, there were nations being conquered and having plagues and all that kind of thing, and they never even heard of your God. People had plagues because they were unsanitary or diseases and viruses. They did not get plagues because some God initiated a plague, which we're going to see a dumbass plague in the next chapter. We're going to see a very dumbass plague in the next chapter. Grand Rising Donna, it's your first time. Appreciate you. Thank you for coming over to Facebook, because I prefer people on Facebook than I do on any other social media platform right now. I don't know what you're talking about. Depends on what he's smoking. Oh, George. Okay, I see where that's at. What did he say? Why are you smoking? Will our tax pay if and when you develop cancer? Because I'm smoking a cigar. If you actually did some research, so you should have asked the question, what am I smoking? As my guy Gerald, I think Gerald said it. Yeah, depending on what he's smoking. This is a cigar. It's a nuance. It's a nub nuance, which is great with coffee because it got these espresso notes in it and almond notes, but it's all natural and you don't inhale it. Less than 0.1% of cigar smokers get cancer. And for the ones who do get cancer, it's because they also smoke cigarettes or they inhale. You don't inhale a cigar. So the likelihood of me getting cancer is zero. Thank you. But if I ever develop anything, yes, your tax dollars will pay for it. And you know why? Because I served in the military. That's why your tax dollars are going to pay for anything that I got to do. Always talking about some damn, like, ask a question before y'all make your little generalized statements when you don't even know me. I'm telling y'all, I woke up on the right side of the bed this morning. Are you mentioning the plagues in Egypt? No, I'm talking about any plague, period. There were plagues that was happening all around the world to different people at different time frames who never knew about your God. There were plagues that happened in the Central America, in South America, in the Americas, and this is before any person from the Levant or Europe ever came. So that had nothing to do with your God, is what I'm saying. Oh, I forgot to put up this thing. But yeah. No, Taquan, you're wrong. It is not clear that I have a hatred for Christianity because I'm using derogatory terms and vulgar language. First of all, I'm using, if you were listening instead of already having your mind set on what I am and who I am and what I'm doing, I preface it by saying I am sick and tired of these type of shallow ass thinking, that I get it all the time. See, you understand, people. I get probably about 200 to 300 comments a day just on Facebook, right? And I try to do my best to read as many as I possibly can, which also means that I'm going to see some shallow thinking bullshit. Well, I'm not that. I'm going to see some repetitive statements. And then I get about 20, 30 people message me every day on Instant Messenger. And then and that's just on that platform right there. Not even counting TikTok and Facebook. I mean, TikTok and YouTube. Then that just adds more. But when I've seen the same statement, and the shallow thinking is what I find to be disrespectful. If you're going to make a statement towards me and you've been watching my videos, then please do not be shallow about it. If you're going to make a statement that goes against what I'm saying and say, yes, or you lack understand, no, that's bullshit. For me, and maybe the problem is that I'm expecting other people, and that is the problem. I'm expecting other people to see through my lens. If I see that somebody took the time to go in depth about something, I'm going to take the time to go in depth back if I'm going against it. Now, if I just agree with you, I just be like, exactly, or I understand, or you're correct. But if I disagree with whatever a person is saying, I'm going to take the time to actually state my disagreement in more detail so that there is clarity of understanding. Not just the bullshit statement of, you lack understanding. You've never been Christian. You never met the Holy Ghost. You don't even know me. So no, I don't have a hatred for Christianity. I don't have a hatred for anything like that. I think that people fall into it. That's their own. That's for themselves. But if they want to live in that, they can go live in it. Junior here for the first time. Thank you for being here. LaQuinn were the whole boy. I can always count on LaQuinn to write a book. Wait, I'm getting too far caught back. We still got another chapter to do now. We still got another chapter. But I'm always interested, certain people, when I see a book, I'm like, God dang, what do you mean by, because I think this handles two different things of something that I saw earlier, but I was reading at the time. What do you mean you don't really want to believe but can't, or you really don't want to believe and just look to find holes? Why would you say that? As also, it sounds like you're coming from a place of God in the things of God should work out for everybody. Who told you that? Oh, you're having a conversation with somebody else. But I did see the person who said that you really want to believe but can't. No, I don't. Back then, when I was younger, I did really want to believe. And I was all for it. And I literally lied to myself a few times. I used cognitive dissonance a few times to ignore the facts of information that was presented to me that I saw and try to still figure out a way to make it fit. And it just didn't fit. So, no. But I understand. I see LaQuinn and you're actually talking to somebody else. Tracy, let me tell you something. I don't know if you smoke cigars, Tracy, but I'm telling you, the Nub Nuance double roast with some coffee. Oh, Tracy. If you smoke cigars, you might want to get up on this one. And if you retro hell. All right. Okay. I got too far behind, of course, as usual. And I got too far behind. And we have another chapter that we have to do. We still got this other chapter. So y'all got me already. I know Antoine. I ain't never seen that name before. That's an interesting. Am I saying that right? Antwine. So would it be Antwine? Antwine. That's how I'm saying it. If I'm saying it wrong, please forgive me. But that's the first time I've seen a name like that. But you're right. You can't argue with stupid. That's when you just say, okay. Grand Rising, Mike. Yeah. All right. Oh, Antwine. All right. All right. So we got to do this last chapter. Let's do this last chapter. Then we can talk about anything. All right. Let's do this last chapter. We can talk about anything. So chapter 25. Got to do chapter 25. Nelvin, hold that question, Nelvin. We got to do chapter 25 because that would be interesting. I do want to talk about what I think the fruits was in the garden. I think that's an interesting commentary. But hold on. We got to do chapter 25. Moab seduces Israel. We got to talk about the sex. Got to talk about the pum pum. Y'all know I like talking about pum pum. We got to talk about the pum pum in the Bible. All right, chapter 25. While Israel was staying in Shittim, and yes, it's called Shittim, was staying in Shittim, the men began indulging in sexual immorality with the Moabite women, who invited them to the sacrifice of their gods. These people ate the sacrificial meal and bowed down to these gods. So Israel's yoked themselves to Baal of Peor, and the Lord angered burned against them. Yeah, that pum pum, man. Gotta get the pum pum. The Lord said to Moses, take all the leaders of these people, kill them, and expose them in broad daylight before the Lord, so that the Lord's fierce anger may turn away from Israel. So basically, I want a public execution in the broad daylight, because these men, after we done conquered and killed the Moabite people, we now want to get down They had sex with him, and I'm okay. Ladies, I need y'all to understand something. I need y'all to understand something, ladies. These Israelite men that came out of Israel, Egypt, they done seen miracles, water coming out of rocks. Look at a snake and you get bit by a viper. Look at a snake thing and you get healed. They done seen the ground swallow up people. They've seen the reed split and manna from heaven and 1.4 trillion quail come down. They've seen all these miracles. But some good poom poom. Some good poom poom made these men change their religion. I'm just saying, ladies. Some of y'all, and I'm going on a tangent now. I'm telling you, I'm going on a tangent. There are too many ladies who think that, oh, I just need to, if I cook for him or, if I just show him love, I iron his clothes, we keep the house clean, if I have fun with him, and that's all fine and well. But the poom poom is what wins. No man, if given to his specifications, can ever defeat the poom poom. It's undefeated. It's Mike Tyson when he had Customata. All right? Ladies, understand that. Find out what your man's poom poom requirements are. And you got him. And if you can fulfill it, he will scorch the earth for you. Got that knockout power, exactly. Because these dogs saw all these miracles, but as soon as that Moabite woman, now, isn't it interesting? Who else is married to a Moabite woman? Who else getting that Moabite poom poom? Moses. Remember Exodus? Moses, his wife. She's Moabite. She's Moabite too. Now, what Christians will say and Jewish people will say that the difference between Moses' wife and these Midianite women is the fact that Moses' wife worships the same God that Moses does, the God of Israel. So, Wayne Witherspoon, you got to hold on till we finish this. So the poom poom is powerful. And instead of just saying what does explain Ezekiel 23:20, put it out there what it is. Because that means I got to go look it up and all that kind of stuff. But not right now. Not right now. But that poom poom. All right. So they get in the poom poom. So the Lord said to Moses, take the leaders, goddamn. All right. So Moses said to Israel, judges, each of you must put to death those of your people who have yoked themselves to Baal of Peor. Then an Israelite man brought into the camp a Midianite woman before the eyes of Moses and the whole assembly of Israel, while they were weeping at the entrance of the tent of meetings. When Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw this, he left the assembly, took a spear in his hand, and followed the Israelites to the tent. He drove the spear through both of them, right through the Israelite man and into the woman's stomach. Then the plague against the Israelites was stopped, but those who died in the plague were numbered 24,000. I got a couple questions here. Where the hell did this plague come from? There was no mentioning of a plague in all this time, but then when Phinehas goes and kills this man who brought a Midianite woman into the camp, there was all of a sudden this miracle plague that now killed 24,000 people. And again, I wish most real was on Facebook right now. Here again is an example of your God just murdering some people with a plague that killed 24,000 people because he was mad because his Israelites were getting some of that Midianite. And really, understand, he ain't mad because they getting that Midianite pum pum. He's mad because they worshiping another God. You see, his jealousy is so his jealousy controls him so much that he killed 24,000 people, asked for public beheading. Well, it doesn't say they were going to be beheaded, but asked for a public execution, all because they started worshiping another God, not because of the pum pum. If it said that they went and got the Midianite women, like how in so many times they go and take the young girls who have not known a man and make them into their wives, you know, they're bringing them into the Israelite cult. So he doesn't mind that because they're going to worship him. But these men, this pum pum is so good with these Midianite women that he's mad. He's really mad because they're doing that. Now, I also want you to consider this. This piece of scripture right here is one of the reasons why in medieval times it was allowed for you to kill someone who was violating the faith, right? Many of those people would be considered murderers today. You can't get away today with, you know, I caught my son having sex with a Muslim or having sex with a Christian or having sex with a Hindus. So I killed him. And because of Phineas, my zeal for the Lord, I was able to kill him. I'm rightly able to kill them because he started worshiping their God. You can't do that anymore. But back in the day, less than 500 years ago, this book allowed for people to kill folks if you was outside of it. So he killed him. Now, and there was this mysterious plague. Now, do you think that Phineas got punished? And this is why these people think that they can get away with this kind of thing. Even today, when these people like the David Koreshes of the world, the False Gate people, the Jim Jones, they think that their zeal for the Lord is going to be rewarded. Why? Because watch my man get rewarded right here. Then the Lord said this to Moses: Phineas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, has turned my anger away from the Israelites, meaning that he's forgiving. I'm going to forgive the Israelites. Since he was as zealous for my honor among them as I am, I did not put an end to them in my zeal. Therefore, tell him I am making my covenant of peace with him. He and his descendants will have a covenant of lasting priesthood because he was zealous for the honor of his God and made atonement for Israel. The man got a gold star. Not only did he get rewarded, but according to this book, Phineas's generations should still be priests today, and they are exalted with a covenant of peace with this God because of his zealousness. Ain't that some bullshit? He murdered 2 people. And imagine how this murder looked. You know they were doing it missionary. In order for him to stab through the Israelites and into the stomach of the woman, that's missionary, right? And he had to have some serious energy going in to pierce through 2 people. But this woman, hopefully her eyes were closed in ecstasy and didn't see the dude sneak up behind them and stab through. While my man is getting it in. But he gets rewarded for it. He gets rewarded for that. It's a damn shame. And I'm curious. I've done some research, but I cannot find this priesthood lineage that is supposed to be still around based on Phineas. You know, in all my stuff, all my research, and researching the priesthood in the different groups, I can't find one that legitimately has claims of bloodline to Phineas as a priest in this line. But let me finish this chapter, and then I can join in on your conversations over there on Facebook and YouTube. The name of the Israelites who was killed with the Midianite woman was Zamira, son of Zalu, the leader of the Simeonite family. The name of the Midianite woman who was put to death was Cosby, daughter of Zur, a tribal chief of a Midianite family. Don't know why they told us that part, because they're never going to mention these two people for the rest of the Bible. These people are never brought up again. The Lord said to Moses, treat the Midianites as enemies and kill them. They treated you as enemies when they deceived you in the Peor incident involving their sister Kobazi. I cannot say that. I'm saying that so wrong. Cosby, the daughter of the Midianite leader, the woman who was killed when the plague came as a result of that incident. It's like you're trying to backtrack the plague and blame it on something. That's why there was a plague. Now y'all just probably y'all were unclean. You know, y'all didn't know how to clean y'all stuff. Probably washing the animals up here and then drinking the water down here or some bullshit like that. But that's how this chapter ends. And isn't it? Moses' wife is Midianite. He just instructed his people to kill all of her people. Now I know she worshiped this guy, and I know she is the wife of Moses. But I just find that very interesting. Like, that's a narrative that's unexplored. Imagine, if you will, if America erupted into a race war, black against white, and let's say the leader of the black people is married to a white woman, and then he gives out orders to kill all the white people, right? Save her, not her. She's not going to be killed. But hey, we're going to go ahead and kill all the white people in America. And she just stand by. Or reverse it. White man married to a black woman, and he's leading all the white people. We're going to kill all the black people. It just, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's just weird, just strange. Or like, you're a man, you married to a Jamaican woman, and then you say, okay, I got the American military, and we're going to kill all Jamaicans in Jamaica. Your wife just going to sit there and let you kill all the Jamaicans in Jamaica? Probably going to be some problems in that relationship. Just a side thought that I have concerning that. Just a little side thought. But, so, one of the reasons why we walk away from this Bible is because this God cannot be the God. One of the reasons why he cannot be the God, because this God is controlled by forces outside of itself. It just demonstrated how he is controlled by anger, because they started worshiping somebody else. He got jealous. So the jealousy created anger inside this God, and that anger caused this God to send a plague to kill 24,000 people, plus 2 more people, reward the person who killed the 2 persons, and then give instructions to go kill all the Midianite people. All because some of his people started worshiping another deity because these women had some good pum pum. That's a psychopath. That's the person that kidnaps people, right? That's a narcissistic being that is so insecure and filled with so much jealousy that it would mass murder its creation in order to justify itself being in place. And you want me to worship this God? Why would I worship the God? Yes, Kenneth, it sounds incredibly human. It sounds incredibly human. And you would have to put on your hat of cognitive dissonance to just completely ignore that. Like perfect example just popped up. Miriam, I'm out of here. How'd you get on my timeline? Girl. Not trying to call her out like in a negative way, and I don't want anybody to jump on her. But it's, you have to actively decide, I'm going to ignore that information, or I'm going to figure out a way to justify it to make it work. Well, this is why I don't like TikTok. I guess somebody got mad at me on TikTok. And they canceled my live. I can't stand TikTok, y'all. I got violated for hate speech and sexually suggestive content. I hate TikTok. I ain't gonna lie. I can't stand TikTok. If it wasn't for the fact that it's easy to make videos on TikTok, I wouldn't even use this damn platform. Anyway. So much for freedom of speech, right? But it's a Chinese company. So why should I expect them to guarantee me freedom of speech? I shouldn't, and I don't. But that's funny. That is funny. Look, let's see. The Midianites were in the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. In the Sinai Peninsula. I don't want to meet a Midianite woman. Put that good. Don't put it on me like that. Who said? Because somebody said something. And here's one of those kind of statements that Christians like to use, that, and this is how you do cognitive dissonance, right? Once again, they killed their children to the Moabite idols, and they ate their children. All right, so if you were to do some research, Angela, and go look at I can't remember the name of the oldest Israelite ancient temple. What is the name of it? Anyway, they've shown in that Israelite temple that the Israelite people also participated in what's called the Molech. The Molech is the ceremony of your child sacrifice, right? So the Israelites did child sacrifice as well. Many cultures around the world did child sacrifice. But even if the Israelites didn't do it, that still is not a justification for genociding the entire population. You're taking your morality today and pressing it upon the people of then. Those people then thought that through their blood sacrifices that they won an award with their God. The Israelites killed animals left and right to appease their God. These types of things were happening all the way up until we get to about the 4th century CE, when Christianity stopped doing blood sacrifices because they had their ultimate human blood sacrifice in Jesus. But civilizations have done this until the morality of the civilization changes. That's when they stop with the blood sacrifices, when they see how immoral it is, unethical it is. But you justify your God's murdering by taking your morality and putting it on those people of that time frame, which is the only reason I brought up the fact that the same people of this book did the same thing, and it was okay. When this guy killed all the firstborn of Egypt and then required and I'm saying it's a difference in Exodus. When Exodus, when it first says that he required the firstborn of the children of Israel, that was a child sacrifice. It wasn't until later on that he said that the Levites will represent the firstborn of the Israelites. And then that's when child sacrifice stopped amongst the Israelite people. But prior to that, child sacrifice was a normal thing. And murdering, genociding people over that reason that's not justified. That's still not a good God. Why not go and convert those people? Show those people that you are the true one only God, and then convert those people over to your belief. But no, you're a bad parent who's playing favorites. If you're talking about what I just said, you can't find in the Bible. Actually, everything I just said is found in the Bible. I just told you it's in Exodus. But then when you look at the archaeology, you see that the Israelites prior to the time of Hezekiah practiced child sacrifice. That was one of the big reasons Hezekiah and Josiah and Ezra began a reformation of Judaism, was to change them over. They changed the religion. And that didn't start till 754 BCE. In and around that time frame, give or take 5-10 years. No, sir. That was what God? Tell me the God. Tell me the God that was under. Tell me the God that Exodus was under when it was killing babies. What was the God? See, this is what I'm saying by shallow thoughts. Taquan, if you're still here, this is the thing that pisses me off. That was under another God. If you were going to write that statement, write out the entire thing. Don't leave these little general things. And okay, so you're saying Baal, Moloch. No, Moloch is not a god. It's been shown that Moloch is the type of is a child sacrifice. Is the process of a child sacrifice. That's what the ritual is called. But no, it wasn't under Baal. That Israelites in Exodus worship Yahweh. They did not worship Baal at the time. They worship Yahweh. But this is what you, Khalif, understand this. Back in their time frame, see, we can't think about it how you think about it today. In their time frame, in the 1200 BCE, where we get our first mentioning of Israelites, the Israelites worship Yahweh at the time. Yahweh was the son of El. El had a wife named Asherah. El and Asherah had sons. One son was Yahweh, the other son was Baal. Yahweh and Baal were brothers. It is not until you get to the 700s when it's not till you get to the 700s when you get Hezekiah saying that we will no longer worship Yahweh, we will only worship El. But then El now doesn't have a wife. Asherah has been changed to just being a stick. But prior to that, for 500 years of Israelites' existence, known existence, they did not worship Baal. The Israelites, the only time they possibly could have worshipped Baal was while they were under Babylonian captivity. But when the child sacrifices were going on, that was the Yahweh. Now, that's what archaeology shows. And then you can see it demonstrated in your Bible when you read the first books of Exodus, the first chapters of Exodus. Well, it's not the first chapters. You got to get all the way through and when they leave Egypt. What? I don't even understand I don't understand this comment. I'm only putting up here because I want to understand this. Yahweh, that part. Glorious name and his law, statutes, and commandments. Fire roasted any belief system. Yeah, see that That doesn't make any sense. I know it makes sense to you, just don't make any sense to me. Mm. Yahweh was a Sumerian god, a part of the Anunnaki. Yeah. No. No. But let's see. Yahweh, who would Yahweh equal in the Sumerian? Yahweh would eat. See, here's what's messed up about it. And when you look at this over a long period of time, El is Enlil, but El can also be Yahweh. I mean, Enlil can also be Yahweh when you talk about Sumerian. So when you use Sumerian, you can't use the Semitic name, the Yahweh name. That's the Akkadian name. You know, well, Canaanite name, which Canaanite language, some Akkadian language, all Semitic. But that's the Canaanite name, is Yahweh. But that would be, because that's a Yahweh is a storm deity, is a god of the wind. That would be Enlil in the Anunnaki. Thank you, Thomas. You must give your firstborn of your sons. Do the same with your cattle and your sheep. Let them stay with their mothers for 7 days, but give them to me on the 8th day. Now, and listen to the language of that. You must give your firstborns of your sons. You must give me the firstborns of your son. Do the same with the cattle and your sheep. What did they do with the cattle of the sheep? Sacrifice. So what do you think he's doing with the firstborn sons? It's not until later that the Levites began to represent the firstborn sons, and you didn't have to kill your children anymore. But I'm sure, Thomas, we're misunderstanding it. We don't have the Holy Spirit, so we can't be reading it right. Because they don't. It's just like with some of the black people in America who don't want to think negative things about their ancestors. People who believe in this Bible don't want to think anything negative about these people. Not to that degree. You can do some. They can deal with some other things, something, but not that. But yeah, Yahweh. Now the first mentioning L.A. King, I said L.A. King. LJ, he said they simply moved Yahweh from the Sumerian pantheon to the Israelite God because they had no religion, no culture, no history. I'm with you. But understand, this is how it goes. As I said before, the Sumerians would not have used the term Yahweh because that's not in their language. They had Enlil. Enlil is the storm deity or deity of the wind, and so is Yahweh. So when the Akkadians picked it up, and then by the time it gets all the way down to the Canaanites use the term Yahweh, which means the same as Enlil, storm deity or wind god, god of the wind. And he was also a desert god too. And I will agree with you on this one to a certain point. Our problem is that they don't reflect back to our ancestors and see how they stole everything from us and rebranded it. Many things are from the ancestry of different groups in Africa. Now, this is going to be different, depends on where your ancestry comes from. But then there are other groups that, some things everybody believed in without having to borrow. Like there's a god of the mountain, there's a god of the wind, there's a god of the sky, there's a god of the water. But this Bible story, it got elements from different groups, but it's all kind of jacked up. Oh, let's see what this says. The figure is probably a representation of the Egyptian bull god Apis in the earlier period of the Canaanite fertility god Baal in the latter. Exodus 32, the Hebrews escaping Egypt as Aaron, the brother. I don't understand what your point is on that one. I'm starting to fall behind again. I'm sorry, I got to skip down. Y'all are way, way, way ahead of me. What was that? Somebody had asked a question and said, what do I think about the fruit in the garden? I think the fruit in the garden is a very interesting thing, because this is why I go back and watch my Genesis versions of these, of What's Wrong with the Bible. Well, I don't know if I said it as much, but I'm pretty sure I would have said this when it talked about the fruit in the garden. If you want to go with the oldest story that we know about that is in reference to two beings being kicked out of the garden, then that would be the Sumerian story. In the Sumerian story, Adapa and Titi are placed in the Garden of Eden in Chaldea, and they are told to govern it. Right? What they were governing wasn't so much the garden itself, but they were governing all the slave labor of the humans that the Anunnaki had supposedly sped up their evolution. But Adapa and Titi were not supposed to be able to reproduce. But when Enki made them, the only way he can make them so that they can be fit for the slavery that they needed, they had to be able to reproduce. So when Enlil comes walking through the enclosure, he sees that Titi is pregnant, and that's the sin. That's the fruit. She was pregnant. And so them being pregnant, he was like, okay, if they can because originally he said he didn't want them to be able to reproduce, because if they can reproduce themselves, then they may realize that they don't need us and go into their own sovereignty. And that would cause revolt. So that was the fruit, her being pregnant. And then Enlil had to kick him out because he didn't want them to understand Anunnaki technology, because then they may surpass the Anunnaki. Right. So it's the fruit of the womb. That's a good way of putting it, the fruit of the womb. So that's the oldest story that we have for this region of the Anunnaki story. And that's it. Now, there is another Anunnaki story that comes much later, about 3,000 years later, where it's Enki coming to Titi and teaching her how to create tools. So the knowledge of the tree of good and evil was the knowledge to be able to create tools, because a hammer can be used for good and a hammer can be used for evil. It can go either way. So that's the knowledge of good and evil. When Enlil saw that they knew how to make tools, he thought they may one day make tools that can overthrow us. So for Enlil, it's always the same bullshit. They may overthrow us. So in their version of the story, in that version of the story that came about 3,000 years after, I think that was part of the Assyrians version, or the Assyrians or the Babylonians version. It was their ability to make tools. And so they had to get kicked out of the garden for that, And it's just one of those things that show that these mythologies have been told and changed and told and changed and told and changed, depending upon who was telling the story and who's in control. So but Since the Sumerian story was older, I tend to stick with the older story as to where it came from. Now, do I believe that that's what happened? Nah, I'm still not. There's some evidence that can there's some evidence that leans towards a version of the Anunnaki story of TT and Adapa and them becoming pregnant, but Anunnaki coming from another planet, not so much. Grand Rising. Thank you, Akani. First time. Akani's first time. I like to recognize people when it's their first time. You can. So, where did I see that statement? You can find those different kind of things when you look at Genesis Revisited or the Earth Chronicles. And those are written by Zachariah Sitchin. Now, they didn't like the fact that Zachariah Sitchin put that information out there, so they tried to discredit him. You can, who is a good person as well? You know, you got your Bart Ehrmans and you got your, but I'm starting not to like Bart Ehrman as much. He's kind of, he's trying to go mainstream a little bit. David Icke, however you say his name, he gets a little weirded out at certain points, but those who just translations of cuneiforms are best. If you can find different translations of the cuneiform and just understand where the perspective of that person is coming from. Now, Khalif, we can't agree on this. The Anunnaki pretended to be gods. I can see that in the logical process. If I'm a more if I'm more superior in my technology and I'm dealing with some people who are so far less, yes, they're going to think that we're gods. And if we want to take advantage of them, then we can take advantage of them. It's the same way that the people from I forgot what island it was, but one of the islands in the Pacific, when they were relocated so that they can do atomic testing, they thought that the people of the United States Air Force were gods because they had flying machines. From the Bible point of view, do you think that the forbidden is a representation of a man? I'm not sure I understand what you mean by that one. It was a forbidden fruit is the representation of man. I don't think it's a representation of man. I think from the Bible perspective, it's a magical fruit tree. But it's really just a representation of, are you going to be obedient to this God or not? Which was dumb, because why would you put the garden there? Why do you need to test them if you know everything? I'm trying to keep up. Yeah, a lot of people writing stuff. Grand Rising Scott, I think this is your first time. Let's see what Scott said. It is through the Old Testament and the law of Moses that we learn about sin, its consequences, and the holiness of God. Sin demands judgment. In the Bible, we see the judgment of God against sin and his sacrificial system. He instituted to have legal rights to show mercy upon the time of Reformation. In time of Reformation in which the perfect sacrifice could be offered Jesus Christ. The sacrifice received the burnt offering judgment. Sin is always a judgment, whether in the death or sacrifice of his own. All right, that's a long book. But I find the problem, one of the problems I find with this whole mindset is what is there a need of blood? How is blood a cleansing element for the sacrifice of your sin? Why would killing another animal for your sins be that? If this judge knows every hair on your head, if this God knows your heart, then it should know whether or not you are repentant of it. You sacrificing a lamb does not show sorrowfulness of the heart. All you gotta do is just get you another lamb the next time you do it. Get you a couple of pigeons the next time you do it. You have a baby, you consider it unclean. 7 days if it's a baby boy, 14 days if it's a baby girl. Why do I need to kill an animal for that? Now, but back to the sin part. If I committed a sin, sacrificing an animal. But in order to cleanse everybody, I'm going to sacrifice a human being. If God wanted to switch over to just recognizing the sincerity of your heart, why would he need a human sacrifice of himself to himself? That doesn't make any sense. He should just know the heart of the person and know whether or not to forgive them or not. So the blood sacrifice actually has zero meaning. So like when one of my children have sinned against the family, we talk about it. They have an understanding. I remind them. Then I watch them over time to see if their apology was sincere by their actions that they now take. And now that I see that their actions are truly sincere, I forgive them of the action that was the sin towards the family. If I can do that as a human, why can't a God do that? He's supposed to be more powerful than me. He's supposed to be more intelligent, supposed to have higher morals. So why can't this guy do that? Why you gotta kill people? Why you gotta have a blood sacrifice? Unless you just love to have that barbecue out. And it says that over and over again. He loves the sweet aroma of the burning flesh. Right? I differ with you on this one. Life is in the blood. When a person dies, what do they stop doing? Does the blood stop circulating? Does the blood disappear out of their system? No. When a person dies, because they stop breathing. They stop breathing. And then you said, period. Don't kill a plant or an animal and let the witness how a person eats. What? And let's witness how a person eats. That don't even make sense. I thought you was going somewhere else with that one. I thought you were going to say something like, well, you couldn't do sacrifices with plants or things like that. It had to be an animal. But actually, there are offerings and sacrifices with plants, with grain offerings and all that kind of stuff. But that don't make sense. Life is not in the blood. Life is in the breath. If I don't do that, this body going to die. This body's going to die. No. Blood, air, earth, life. Blood, air, earth, life. Are you saying that the life of earth, the blood of the earth is air? No. The blood of the earth is water. Without water, there's no life on this planet. You gotta have some water. That would have actually made more sense and correlated with what Angel said, is that the water is the life. You can have air on this planet all day with no water. There's air on Mars, but there's no water. We need water. That's one of the things they teach you in desert survival training and any survival training, that your primary thing to find is water. I'm typing too fast. I got too many comments coming in. But these guys can people every religion claims their God is the creator of life. Their God is the one that breathed life in the man that created everything. And none of them can prove that their God created anything. You can't prove it. The only thing you have is your book. That's it. You just got your book. You have nothing else that proves that your God manifested anything or created anything. Can't prove it. See, sometimes y'all be talking to each other, so I see a statement that looks interesting, but I don't know the exact thing about it. You know I gotta put this one up there, Scott. He manifested the cigar I'm smoking in the joint. He manifested none of this. This is, let's see, this is a nub. Who makes nub? Nub is made by Drew Estates, I think. Nope. It's some farmers who manifested this cigar, who planted the seed, cultivated the seed and the plant, and there's some great people who rolled it. See, this is one of those things that I had to use cognitive dissonance to accept when I was trying to accept this God. The evidence of the seen is evidence of the unseen. And I used to say that. I used to say it 20 years ago. How old am I? 52? 30 years ago, 20, 30 years ago, I used to say the exact same thing. The evidence of the seen is the evidence of the unseen. That because things exist, there must be a God. And I was a God of the gaps person like a champ. Like a champ. I would argue that. I used to go and do debates, and I would go and teach in other churches. And I would say that there is absolutely no way anything on this planet, this universe came into existence except for God. And I used all the excuses. If a tornado came and swept up a bunch of parts, the probability of a fire truck landing in that spot, there must be a God. All those things, I used them. But those were just excuses to ignore the fact that there is zero proof of your God, of that God existing. We wouldn't be able to prove how things were created because of we can see how long certain plants and animals evolved over time. And the fact of the fossil record that we do have is amazing that we have it, because most things are going to wither away. There is a level of natural history that we will never be able to truly see, because it changes. It becomes part of everything, and we'll just never find it. But I'm not going to say that a God created, because we can see how things have changed over time. What little information we do have about natural history, which is like not even will fill the tip of a pen. What little information we do have certainly demonstrates that adaptation happens. That as the world turns, we adapt, animals adapt, plants adapt, the earth adapts. We know that there have been multiple extinction level events. This planet has been hit by meteorites. And think about causality over long periods of time. If certain elemental things didn't happen on this planet, we would not exist. We wouldn't exist. No, it is not explained in the Bible. The Bible is just, in the beginning, the earth was void, and chaos, and the breath of God fluttered over the waters. Where the fuck those waters come from? How were there already waters? In the beginning, there was darkness, and over the chaos and the waters, God fluttered. He breathed over the water, and then said, "Let there be light," and then there was light. But there was matter already present. The Bible doesn't explain meteorites hitting and the elements of that meteorite mixing with other things and creating life on this planet over billions of years. It doesn't explain any of that. Now, Taquan, normally you're a good contributor, but what you will not do, sir, is use my page and my lives as a marketing platform for yourself. I'm giving you a warning today on that one, because I was already feeling some kind of way, because on one of my videos you kept talking about, I'm gonna do a video dispelling what he said. I'm gonna do a video dispelling what he said. Come to my page, I'm gonna do a video. And like you did like 4 videos of I'm gonna do a video. Dude, I'm telling you right now, if you want to do a video and you want to post that video in the comment section explaining, because I understand, I don't like typing myself. I'd rather do a video than type. If you had a comment, but you rather do a video comment within my comment line, that's fine. But a video comment talking about some, come to my page, I'm gonna do a video, come to my page, I'm gonna do a video, that spamming shit, I'll ban your ass. You cool, I like you, I told you that I like you. But that kind of bullshit, nah, bro. Because I would never go to your page to market on your page. Don't do it on mine. All right, Taquan, I'm coming man to man with respect on that. So don't do that, bro. Don't do that. Like I said, I don't mind you doing a video comment about what we're talking about, but don't try to market it. And if you do a video comment and people like it and they want to go to your page, that's how you do it. People like it, they go to your page. But don't beg people or tell people, come over here so you can hear this video. That's marketing. All right, back to y'all. Actually, Gen 1 says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. You know what? I might have been. Let me go back and, not that I don't believe you, but hold on. There's something more to that. I know I'm crazy, but I ain't all crazy. It's just a little bit crazy. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. So I'm with you. See, it's that second verse that starts to throw it off. Now the earth was formless. So you can't create the earth, and the earth is formless. There is no matter there. But it says down the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. All right. So it's hovering over the water as if God is the heavens. Now, let me tell you where that comes from. Right. Let me tell you where that comes from. Now, Nelvin, I hear you. I see what you're saying. The heaven and the earth was people. No. When you look at the Sumerian story says that in the beginning there was Namu, and then there's Anu. Namu is the primordial waters, right? It's formless. It's the primordial waters. And Anu is the heavens, the sky. Anu had sex with, hovered over Namu, and created and then created the earth and the universe, right? Created everything, which is why then it says, and then God said, let there be light, and there was light. Anu and Namu had sex and created the universe, and light came into existence. But before that, Namu is that dark primordial waters, the darkness, and Anu, the dark sky, and they had sex and they created. So biblically, that's how they changed that and took from the Hebrews. I mean, not Hebrews, because somebody wrote Hebrew right there, threw me off. Took from the Anunnaki story, the Sumerian story, rather, not the Anunnaki. Well, it's the Anunnaki, but the Sumerian story. But when you even looking at this in its biblical form, you cannot have the heavens and the earth, but then the earth is formless. Then there is no earth. Until the earth is formed, there is no earth. Right? But yes, there was matter already there, though. I think we can agree on that one. Khalif, you say it's BS because sex was not needed to create. Prior to 700, the 700s, the Israelite people believed that their God had a wife named Asherah. They still believe that the gods had sex. God's not having sex is a younger doctrine than God's having sex. So for eons before that, the gods had sex. That was just, this whole thing about a God being eternal is relatively new. Is a relatively new thing. But I'm with you, it's still kind of stupid. Anu, the Egyptian called her Nun. Yeah, well, yeah, this, I was talking about the Sumerians. The Sumerians has Namu and Anu. In the Egyptian, I thought it was, no, in the Egyptians, you have the Ogdode, and then the Ogdode is split into 4 parts, and in each part there's a masculine and a feminine. And then from the Ogdode, the cosmic egg was created, which formed Ra. Ra became the first matter plane existence being. And then Ra formed the earth, where had 2 children from himself. I thought it was from himself, which became Jeb and Nut. And they were the waters above the waters in an embrace. And then they had Shu, which was the wind, and Shu separated the waters. So I don't know where Nun comes into play. I don't remember that name, actually. So yeah, I'll have to look that up, because I don't remember that fitting in. But of course, like the Sumerians, there's a bunch of different stories that change depending upon where they're coming from. Nun is also considered a god that will destroy you. Okay. So, but where did her story? Oh, Nun is one of the 8. Nun is one of the 8 deities of the Ogdode, representing ancient Egyptian primordial chaos from the primordial mound arose. Okay, so she's one of the first 8. And like I said, it was split. You had, but which part was she? Because those 4 divisions represented 4 different aspects. Okay, I'm with you. But I see how Nun and Namu can be similar. I've always thought that was interesting too, how Genesis 1:2 is in need of being replenished. Yeah, it needs to be replenished. And then later on it says man to replenish the earth. It says filled now, but back most of the time it said replenished back in the day. When I was a kid, the Bible's always said replenish the earth, not fill the earth. In Genesis 1:26. Yep, back to the poom poom. Yep, formless just means without definite shape. But we know the earth has a definite shape. It is not formless. So he couldn't have created the earth and it's not formless. See, at the same level that you can say that those guys didn't exist is the same level I can say your God didn't exist. Because their version of from the Ogdo to Ra to Jeb to Newt and so on and so forth explains how everything came into creation in the same way that your God in Genesis is explaining how everything came into creation. So I can give the same validity to that. Oh, y'all know some typing. No. Genesis 3:1, I think, shows that Adam never fathered Cain and Abel, the generations of Adam. No. There is a thing where people believe that Cain was born from Eve having sex with the serpent. I forgot who came out with that doctrine. But no, where is this at? Because it says you said Genesis 3. No, Genesis 3 is just talking about them eating from the tree and all that kind of stuff and then being kicked out of the garden. But then Genesis 4 clearly says Adam made love to his wife Eve and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. It doesn't say anything about her having sex with the devil or anything or the serpent. It says she had sex with her husband. And she said, with the help of the Lord, I have brought forth a man. Later, she gives birth to his son, Abel. But it says that Adam made love to his wife and she became pregnant and had Cain. So with the help of the Lord is just her giving, saying with, having a baby. It's like those people like, oh, we bought this house. If it's nothing but God, it's the only reason I bought this house. I got a car. Nothing but God, I got this car. But I don't see where Cain was ever referred to as the Lord. And Lucifer is the planet Venus. So Lucifer is not the devil. Lilith comes from the Sumerian Akkadian story of the Lulutu tree. If you read the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Enuma Elish, then you will see that Lilith was the Lulutu tree that was one of the things that Gilgamesh had to deal with. And the Lulutu was a female demon spirit that would lure men and children into the desert and kill them. But Inanna needed Gilgamesh to handle that Lulutu tree if he wanted immortality. And that later becomes Lilith because they were trying to explain why children die in crib death because they didn't understand what SIDS was back in the day, or people died in the desert. So it must have been a demon that killed them. So Lilith was created. That's why you have to go back to like original stories of where this stuff come from. Like taking the Bible as the original story of anything until you get to Hezekiah. No, there are very few things that are historical in the Old Testament, well, in the New Testament, but there are very few historical things. But they'll take a historical place or a few historical people or kingdoms and attach themselves to it, and then at that point they try to make it seem like it's something that's real, but it's not. And see, just like my man here is saying this is proof of what I'm saying. Yahweh is translated to Lord. This is not the Most High's name. It was a title. No, Yahweh originally was the name of a Canaanite god. The Canaanite storm god's name was Yahweh. Remember, the Hebrew people, the Israelite people are Canaanite. Like Canaanite, does it mean a small group, a certain tribe? Yes. But Canaanite also meant a large tribe of people as well, that had multiple names, groupings within it. Kind of like how you got Israelites, but you got the different tribes within it. Canaanite can also means that same thing, Canaanite people. But Yahweh was the name of their deity in the Canaanites. In the small group Canaanites, Yahweh is the name of their deity. So, but then it does people later on make it mean a god, a title? I've never heard that before, but sure, yeah, they can. They certainly can. That's why you got to go back. You got to keep going back. And that's if you're new to me, understand that I go back as far as the information that we have. Somebody said something about earlier. Well, no, not earlier. They said it was in a different video. Where they said that the oldest writings was from Göbekli Tepe and Turan Tepe. I don't know of any writings that they found from, but as they find out more information from Göbekli Tepe and Turan Tepe, that is going to predate. We already know that it predates the Sumerians. So as they come out with that, as we figure out their information, I'm going back to that. Which so far it looks like they were worshipers of animal spirits and the stars, which has been the oldest style of religion, is spirits in animals and trees and shit, and spirits in the stars. I don't know. When were the pyramids texts written? No, pyramid texts don't predate. It's not the oldest. That only goes back to 2686 BCE. The Sumerian text goes back to like 6000 BCE, maybe even 8000 BCE. So it's not the oldest. It might be the oldest Kemetic text. Oldest Sumerian cuneiform tablet. That thing said oldest. Oh, wait. You might be on something. Wait, it's saying the oldest Sumerian text, maybe 2144. And it wouldn't be Sumerian, but in the city of Ur, which was a Sumerian city, 2144. It might have been beat by 400 years, 500 years. But that's just the first one that came up. I gotta look. This thing is saying Otis. No, the oldest writings are not Semitic at all. The oldest writings are going to be the Kemetic writings are older than the Semitic writings. No, life didn't start just because writing doesn't mean that that's where life started. You got the Adam's calendar in South Africa, and that has been shown to be a human civilization. So that's older than any civilization that we found thus far, I believe. Got a question for you, Scott. What prophecies have been fulfilled? Which ones you talking about? What prophecies have been fulfilled? And for a prophecy to be fulfilled, something has to be said and then it happens later. Not something happens, then they write about it saying that it's going to happen. It has to happen, being said, and then happen. Rightful so Abraham was famed for finding and following the one true God, and according to the scripture, he only gave his law to Israel. Now that said, all other nations had gods and goddesses they worshiped before Abraham. They were saying the same things, yet you won't give credit to the Bible's validity. No, I won't give credit to the Bible's validity. I don't give credit to their validity as well. I'm saying, I understand when I cite these other people, I'm not saying their story is true, not even slightly. I'm not saying their story is true. Most of the time I'm citing them when I'm saying that, like the story of Abraham. When you read the Sumerian and the Akkadian story, you'll see that they talk about a dude like Abraham who is still worshiping Enlil, and Enlil separates that dude and says that since you're following me, I'm going to make you into a great kingdom. So the Abraham story to me is pulled from those previous stories of the Akkadians and Sumerians of this one guy out of the city of Ur, which was a Sumerian city that worshiped Enlil, and then Enlil promised him to make him a great kingdom. They're saying that, but I'm not saying either one of them is true. That's just what they wrote. We're basically reading what people believed back then. That's all we're reading. We're not reading facts, right? We're just reading what they believed. Yeah, I know LA. I mean, I don't know why I want to call you LA. I know it's LJ. When we get to these parts, I do. I try to answer as many people as I possibly can. But yeah, we're just reading what other people wrote back then. We're not reading it. Right, just like Hollywood. Just like Hollywood. They had religions, not media back then. Yeah. Ain't none of that shit that they was anything. Now, if they were writing about contracts or laws that they had in their kingdoms, or who was the king and who was the king's child and what wars they fought, some of that may be true if we can validate it. Like, for instance, Bible credit. Let me give you a Bible credit. Hezekiah talks about how the Assyrians didn't conquer Jerusalem, but they conquered Lachish, right? And then Hezekiah paid the Assyrian king a whole bunch of gold and all this kind of stuff. Right now, in Nineveh, they found the temple where they wrote on the walls how they conquered Lachish, and then they laid siege to Jerusalem. But then all of a sudden they lifted the siege. So I will give the Bible credit that during the time frame of Hezekiah, that Jerusalem was under siege by the Assyrians, but the Assyrians did conquer Lachish. I will give the Bible credit for that event more than likely happening. All right. But am I going to give credit that the Assyrians woke up one morning and 1,800 or some number like that of the Assyrian soldiers were dead? No. Both of them clearly are saying that they were paid off and that's why they left. But I'm not going to say God came and killed these 1,800 or however number of people and that's why the Assyrians left. No, that part is no. Yeah, Keenan was saying that South Africa is where Adam's calendar is found. Yeah, and at first they tried to say that it was just a cattle crawl. Well, no, at first they tried to say it was a natural rock formation. It was like, that's bullshit. Then they tried to say it was a cattle crawl. Well, if it was a cattle crawl, then there had to be some people there. Then they realized that people actually lived there because they also found ancient gold mines there. So it was like, nah, them people was living there. And Adam's calendar is old as shit. I think it's like 75,000 years old. How old is Adam's calendar? Oh, shit, my bad. Adam's calendar. Hold on. What was that? Who is claiming that? According to archaeologists.org, Adam's calendar is around 75,000 years old. Now, who is this person trying to say it was 300,000 years old? See, now this is one of those things where I look at Zechariah Sitchin and be like, you trying to make it fit into your narrative of the Sumerians? But Zechariah Sitchin was saying that it was 300,000 years old. According to archaeologists.org, though, 75,000 years old. Oldest written language known. Ah. Wait a minute, hold on. So the oldest written language, Astro-Proto-Literal symbols between 34 to 3100 BCE. The earliest coherent text is 2600 BCE. And that's the Sumerian and the Egyptians. See, that's one of the things about the Sumerians and the Egyptians. They kind of just burst onto the scene at the same time. Like they just rolled up together. So that's why I would say both of them. I don't try to put one over the other because they're relatively happened. The history shows relatively the same time, but yeah, go back and tell about to break both of them down. Did that dude ever say what his prophecies were that was happening? Because I didn't see a response on that one. You know, that's one of the things about the end time people. They're always trying to claim prophecies, but you know, you're doing it after the fact. You're trying to claim it after. What are you talking about, bro? Sodom and Egypt is the prophecy we are living as we speak. What? You're gonna have to explain that. Because history does repeat itself. All right, Keith. We're reading the drunken thoughts of prophets doing opium in the desert and hallucinating from heat exhaustion. Angel said it's some cannabis, DMT mushrooms, all natural herbs. That sounds like. Hey, we talk about it. Yeah, I'm with you with get some good DMT and mushrooms. All right. Can anyone tell me what was the first Bible? It depends on what you're calling. I mean, a Bible is a collection of books. Uh, the first canonized Bible was until like 365, 369, 370, somewhere around in there. Is when you get your first canon. Then when you forget the first canon. And the Torah, I forgot when was the Torah closed? The Torah wasn't closed until like the second, third century is when they closed the Torah. And you're right. Ashna. Ashna. The Bible shows it wasn't written by Moses. Nope. It wasn't written by Moses. It was written much later. Nobody writes at the time frame. Most of the 99% of the time, it's not written at the time frame of the actual events. This used to be one of my things that I used to try. I made this fit too, man. I made it fit. Daniel had a vision and sees the angel Gabriel in this chapter 10. Gabriel has a conflict with the prince of the kingdom of Persia. He tells Daniel prophetically when Gabriel leaves from Daniel's presence, and that he will again engage with the prince of Persia, and how with an angelic host with Michael, he will bring about the defeat of the Persian Empire with the Grecian Empire. History confirms the kingdom of the Persians is overthrown by the Greeks. This is fulfillment of prophecy. No, it's not, because it did not specifically say the Persians were going to be defeated by the Greeks. It is afterwards that it wouldn't matter what kingdom came after Persia, they would have inserted that group as these are the ones. That statue it's talking about your kingdom will not last, and you'll be conquered by a kingdom that's represented by silver, and then one that's represented by iron, and they say that's the Roman Empire. And then one that's copper, and then the feet is a mixture of metals and shit or something. And so as each conquering empire happened, they started to connect each one with it, but yet that's just us connecting. We making those connections. It never specifies which one. If it was a real prophecy, it would have specifically said what these kingdoms are and as they come about. Matter of fact, what is that? But I used to hang my hat on it. I used to hang my hat on Daniel 10, bro. I'm with you. But then I just had to realize it never tells you what those kingdoms are. Let me make sure, because if I'm wrong, I don't mind being wrong. Where the hell is it? Oh, I see what you're talking about. You're talking about in 20 where it says, so do you know why I have come soon? I will return to fight against the prince of Persia, and I will go, and the prince of Greece will come. But first I will tell you what is written in the book of truth. Now, I can see the prince, and I can see it's saying the prince of Greece will come, because the Greek Empire was already something that the Persians were fighting against. That would be, so would you say that I was prophesizing if I said that America will fight a war against Russia and China? If I said that today, knowing that Russia and China are already in existence, a prophecy, that's a very good estimated guess, just like stock market. A real prophecy would be me naming a civilization that has yet to be created. Oh, my bad. And I thought this was about the statue. This ain't about the statue. My bad. I thought you was talking about the whole statue thing. Where's that? Ain't the statue? Where's the statue at? Mm-mm. And then once again, another thing about, okay, so one, knowing that the Greeks were already fighting the Persians, that's not a real prophecy. Two, we're talking about the book of Daniel. Was it written by Daniel at the time frame that Daniel was sitting up there under Persian captivity? No, this was written after. It was written after, you know, it wasn't written during the time frame of Daniel. So if I'm writing a story afterwards, I can incorporate things in there that makes it look like prophecy. So I don't take those things as being valid because those things are easily manipulated. Why did I thought that was the one about the statue? So my bad. I got all excited. I understand, but Daniel 10:20 is not the fulfilling of a prophecy. Not when it's written afterwards. When was the book of Daniel written? So the book of Daniel was written in about 164 BCE. When did the Greeks conquer the Levant? The Greeks had conquered the Levant in 333 and 330, around 333 to 332 BCE. So the book of Daniel was written a few hundred years, 200, almost 200 years after the Greeks had already conquered the Levant. And 164, I think that's when did the Romans conquer the Levant? The Romans didn't conquer till 64. So this was written during the time frame that the Greeks were in control of the Levant, where the kingdom of Israel was a pretty much a vassal state of the Greeks. So why would you take that as prophecy? If the story is written in 124, but the Greeks had already conquered almost 200 years prior, why would you take that as prophecy? This is that part of the study that it took for me to walk away from it, is when I realized that it don't make sense because anybody can make it that way. It's not like Daniel wrote it. Now, if it was written like in the 500s, after they had left Babylonian captivity and the Persians had freed them, if it was written during the time frame of the Babylonian captivity, if it was written during the time frame when the Persians came in and before they released them, then I will give it credit. But if it's written 200 years after the Greeks now already conquered them about a person who was supposedly living 400 years prior, I can't give that credit. Now, this is the Daniel 10:20 that he was talking about. Go back to Genesis 3 where God prophesied seed of the woman. Do women have seeds? No, women don't have seeds. Biologically, we consider the male sperm as the seed. So what are you talking about? What does it Daniel 11:20 say? It's not going to matter too much what Daniel 11:20 says. To be honest, am I in Daniel? Daniel 11:20. His successor will send out a tax collector to maintain the royal splendor. In a few years, however, he will be destroyed, yet not in anger or in battle. What's your point? What's your point? But like I said, not that I'm giving validity to Nostradamus' predictions, but Nostradamus wrote his stuff when he was alive. John Dees wrote his stuff when he was alive. What's the other dude? There's another guy he supposed to been writing some prophecy, but they wrote their shit at the time frame they were alive. Daniel didn't write nothing. Daniel didn't write nothing. Not one thing that Daniel write. These are all written 400 years after Daniel died. So I can make Daniel say anything. You can make Daniel say anything you want Daniel to say, because who's going to go against it? If I'm writing this in 164 about a dude in probably around 564, who's going to question it? Who can question it? What? What you talking about, man? Come on, y'all. We got to think through this stuff. I was in Genesis 3. I didn't see, there ain't nothing about, and you want to relate Genesis 3 to Jesus. And you're not specific. You're just saying Genesis 3. Genesis 3 doesn't relate to Jesus at all. There ain't nothing in Genesis 3 that relates to Jesus. Wait a minute. You're talking. Wait, where's that part at? Where is that part? You must be talking about. Are you talking about in 15, where it says that I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers, offspring and hers? He will crush your head and you will strike his heel, as far as a seed? Because I know some parts say between your seed and hers. There are some versions that say that instead of offspring. How they ain't got nothing to do with Jesus? They ain't say they ain't got nothing to do with a virgin birth. That's that cognitive dissonance that forces shit to fit. And I fell behind again. See, now I went through that whole thing about the Greeks and when it was written and all of that stuff. And does my guy does Scott say anything about that? Come on, Scott. Now you said that's pretty convincing. What's pretty convincing? I know I'm behind. I know y'all. I know I'm behind. So my apologies. I'm way behind what most of what y'all are saying. I got you. Sound reasonable. Is that the Daniel stuff? Angel. Good statement, but let's think a little deeper. Remember, they destroyed the temple in 581 BC. They destroyed the records. The Israel people didn't leave Babylon captivity to 539 to 537. Remember, they destroyed the temple in the kingdom, northern kingdom of Israel. The southern kingdom of Judah never went into captivity. So the southern kingdom of Judah still had all of their records. They never lost their records, right? Now, the southern kingdom of Judah also had problems with the northern kingdom of Israel because the northern kingdom of Israel were breaking the laws, so to speak. They were eating pig, they were doing pig husbandry. They were leaning into the Phoenicians and being more friendly with the Phoenicians during that time frame. So the southern kingdom of Judah didn't like the northern kingdom. The southern kingdom of Judah is the ones who actually said who were they under? That's when he said, no longer shall we worship Baal, but we just worship Yahweh, because he was referring to the northern kingdom of how they were incorporating the whole, Yahweh and Baal are brothers. El is the daddy, Asherah, and they had they had Asherah. All the old temples where you find they had Asherah poles are in what was the northern kingdom. So yes, the northern kingdoms most likely lost their records. They were taken to Babylon, all that sort of thing. Temple destroyed. But they took this stuff to Babylon. But they weren't destroyed in Babylon. They were allowed to take it back when they came back. But the southern kingdom of Judah would have still had their records and had everything, which is why it's the southern kingdom of Judah that actually began putting all these writings into motion. First you had the Hezekiah in the northern kingdom doing it with the southern kingdom. But by the time we get to the Babylonian captivity, you got the southern kingdom was also incorporating these same records or similar records. No, bro, the seed of the woman was just talking about the fact that she's going to give birth. Because remember, this is the time frame where he's saying that the woman is going to be punished by having pain during her childbirth, and that her seed her offspring will have enmity between the mother and the father, and be between the serpent and the child, and bashing the head in. And then she gets pregnant by her husband, Adam, and they have Cain, and then later on they have Abel, and then later on they have Seth, and then they have many sons and daughters. But they were talking about the birth that she was going to have. They weren't talking about a virgin birth later on. See, that's where Christians try to force Jesus into the Old Testament. And that was a very big push. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th century. It was a very big push for the Roman Church to push Christianity. Well, at first it wasn't even the Roman Church. It was just the people, the ones who believed in this book at that time frame. And then in the 4th century is when the Romans began their push into it. So the 1st and 2nd century and 1st, 2nd, and 3rd century, not Roman, but they were pushing Christianity into the Old Testament, which was the plan, to create a docile version of Judaism. And then it's the Romans really went full steam into it around the 4th century on. Oh, hell no. You said the right word. It would be exhaustive. Here's the thing. According to the Bible, it says that if you want to know a false prophet, then let them make their prophecy, see if the prophecy happens, and you'll know a false prophet, right? The Bible had all the Bibles have to do is demonstrate 1 or 2, and I'm good, right? 1 or 2, and it's not the word of God, right? Just 1, and 1 false prophecy in the Bible, not the word of God. The first part is that I look at the fact that the Bible does not prophesize. 90% in the Old Testament is not prophesied at all. It's written after the story. New Testament, you got prophecies that never happened. Revelations is not a prophecy of today. Revelation was a prophecy that Nero was going to come back and retake the Roman Empire. But Nero never came back and retook the Roman Empire, so therefore, false prophet. It's a false book. You see what I'm saying? I don't need to do an exhaustive study. That in itself is enough. Yeah, we can look at the Euphrates and all these other kind of bullshit, but no, it's a process. That one, all I need is one. Right? Now I'm good. I fell way behind again. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm scrolling all the way down to the most current ones because I fell so far behind. I'm glad that y'all are having conversations amongst yourselves as well. Khalifa, right? Virgin means woman of marriageable age in Hebrew, marriageable age, having nothing to do with sex. That was a mistranslation from the going over from the Hebrew to the Greek. So the whole virgin thing is meaningless. It just means a young woman who's eligible to be married. Good statement, LJ. Looking at history, how could Israel have been in the Levant with a temple built that was destroyed when all the areas was fighting between the Persians ran out of the Persians being ran out of Egypt by the Greeks? I don't know about the Persians being ran out of Egypt because I don't think the Persian Empire conquered Egypt. But they would have been able to build temples because they became vassal states. Here's the thing about Israel. Israel does not have this kingdom of David, kingdom of Saul in the way that the Bible tries to show it. For almost other than this small amount of time after the Bronze Age collapse, was Egypt almost kind of had some sovereignty. All the other times of history in the Levant, Israel was always a vassal state of either the Assyrians, the Akkadians, the Sumerians, the Babylonians, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, and the Egyptians. And the Egyptians had their ass multiple times. During this whole time frame that Moses supposedly is doing the whole Exodus, the Levant was controlled by Egypt. It is not until around 1200 BCE that the Egyptians lose to the Phoenicians in that area, and then the Levant is no longer under their rule. But then then you have the Bronze Age collapse that happens at that same time frame. So from 1200 till about 900, they had their little time of freedom, but then they're being conquered by the Assyrians, and then the Babylonians, and then the Babylonians, then the Persians, then the Greeks, then the Romans, and so on and so forth. So they really don't have this great kingdom time frame where they have this big empire. But even as a vassal state, because people were henotheistic, they would have been allowed to worship their deities however they worship their deities. Remember, that was the problem with them in Rome. Rome wanted them to put a statue of Caesar in the temple, but the Jews were like, hell no, we don't do that. And that's why you have like the Maccabean Wars and all these kind of things, the War of the Jews. Because they were fighting, the Romans really were fighting against the Messianic story and not really fighting the people. So they still would have been able to have those in there. So who is the God we're supposed to worship? If a God requires worship, then it's not worthy to be a God. Because then the desire of worship would be stronger than the actual God itself. And nothing can be stronger than nothing can force a God to do anything. So you have a God that desires worship, that needs worship, that demands worship. It's not a God, and I wouldn't worship it. No God should be worshipped. If there is an intelligent designer, a creator, it would not require worship. What does it need your worship for? What benefit does your worship bring to it? And if it had a requirement, it's not God. It's not the all. It's a human. It has too many human qualities. I asked because the Greeks and the Romans, Greeks had the Egyptians create the Old Testament during the occupation, so Daniel couldn't. Now, I don't think Daniel ever existed. I think it's just a made up ass story. They needed to create a history, antiquity for themselves. During the time frame of Hezekiah, they wanted to create their own antiquities. No, I don't worship. I appreciate. But I don't worship. There's a difference between appreciation and worship. So to Scott, worship is an intimate and loving expression. Adoration, sure, but worship is me bowing down to you. Worship is me saying that I give you, I'm nothing without you. I am nothingness. No, that you command me, whatever your words, whatever you say, I got to do, whatever you desire, I got to change and be. That's worship. And I'm giving you all of that. I'm giving all of my energy, all my essence to you. Hell no. But if that's what it means to you, okay. But to me, no. And to what the word actually means, no. Worship is. And this God is not even. This God of this Bible is not worthy of it at all. Scott. When did you meet God? Did he show up? What did he look like? What did he look like? What did he look like? What did he look like, Scott? Yep. Thank you, Karen. Worship is giving away your sovereignty, power, and freedom. No, I didn't say when. I said what he looked like. What Jesus looked like. Caesar Borgia? The picture of Caesarea Borgia? He looked like him? Because that picture is not what Jesus. If Jesus was a being, he wouldn't have looked like that. All right. So no disrespect. You had your experience. You got to know Jesus through the scripture and fellowship and his spirit. All right. No disrespect. That's your emotions. That's your own mental creation, dude. That's not reality. We can create our own mental imageries of what God is or is not, what it looks like. And understand that most of that is created based on what you've been surrounded by your entire life. Whether you was going to church or not, doesn't matter. I don't know where you're from. Where you're from, Scott. But wherever you're from, right? Wherever you're from, you most likely was surrounded by Christianity. You may not have participated, but you're driving by churches all the time. If you're watching television, it's got all these elements of Christianity. Okay, you in Oklahoma City. So I know Oklahoma City is like Atlanta. There's churches and shit on every corner, right? So you're going to, whether you realize it or not, subconsciously, you're going to be affected by Christianity in Oklahoma City. And so when you get to an emotional state where you start to desire some type of divinity, you're naturally going to go towards Christianity. Scott, if you were born in Saudi Arabia, you'd be talking about Allah. You'd be worshiping, you'd became Islamic. You became Christian because of what your surroundings. And whatever happened in your life that caused you to have this need, that's what pushed you. But you created it in your mind. First of all, when the Ankh was created, and I don't wear the Ankh because I worship Egypt, the Kemetic story. When the Ankh was created, there was no such thing as a Bible. First thing. When the Hand of Hansama was created, which this oldest version of the Hand of Hansama actually goes back to the Indus. I thought it went back to the Islamic, but it actually goes back to the Indus. The Hand of Hansama just has been in multiple cultures all over the place. The evil eye, and mainly it's the evil eye part. The hand part was through Jainism and then into Jainism and Islam, and it used to be a Christian symbol as well. This used to be called the Hand of Mary. I don't wear it because I worship any of those things. One, I like the way it looks. Two, it's a reminder of my own energies. Right? It doesn't. I don't worship it, and these things were around long before the Bible, so that don't count. And then I fell behind again. Yeah. See, the thing about it, people, we see somebody wearing like a perfect example. I saw this dude. He had the Hand of Hansama on, but he had the Jainism version on a hat, and I was like, "Man, you practice Jainism?" And he was like, "What's that?" I said, "Well, the symbol that you got on your hat." Man, I just like the way this thing look. That's it. He just liked the way it looked, and I respected that. I was like, you know what? That's a great answer, bro. Just because you see somebody wearing something doesn't mean that that's what they worship. If I wear a Gucci symbol, does that mean I worship Gucci? So who is the demiurge? I've been hearing about it. So the demiurge, in the Gnostics are the main players when it comes to the demiurge. The demiurge is supposed to be that there's this all-powerful God. There's the energy of that is the all. I forgot what it's called. I'm gonna remember it probably as I go. But there's an energy, and from that energy created the Sophia, which is the feminine. Then with the Sophia, it created the demiurge. The demiurge is this lesser god. The primary energy went on to just oversee the universe. The demiurge was supposed to work with the Sophia to create the earth and all the beings of the earth. But the demiurge decided it was going to create it on its own. So straight masculine. And it went and created. So, and it was jealous and evil, the God of the Old Testament. And it manifested the earth. The Gnostics teach that this evil entity created, the monad, thank you, created this earth as a prison for all the other souls, energetic souls that were leaving out of the monad and trap them on this matter plane existence on this earth because it wants to be like the monad, kind of like your Enoch story, right? And so, and when I say Enoch story, the whole war in heaven. So then the Gnostic teach that Jesus wasn't to be worshipped or is part of the monad, but Jesus was a being of such high consciousness that he was teaching how to, through knowledge, you can escape from this matter plane existence and rejoin with the monad. But the demiurge is this evil entity that is supposed to be entrapping us here. That's the other name. That's the name I was looking for. The monad, yes, you can use monad, but this is the main name I was looking for. Pleroma. The pleroma. The demiurge would be Jehovah, Enlil, well, not Enlil, Jehovah, Yahweh, all that bullshit. The demiurge would be the God of the Bible. Is the God of the Old Testament is the demiurge, according to the Gnostics. And that's another name for I think that's another name for the demiurge, right? The Yaldabaoth. Isn't that another name for the demiurge? And thank you, Crystal. Symbols are not made for worship. They're simply symbolic. And I look at symbols as symbolic as my own energy, the ones that I wear and use. Like on my wrist, I have, the this upside down, but the tree of life. But I really like the tree of life mainly because of the Native American saying of no tree is no tree is so foolish that its branches fight one another for sunlight. And since we're all from the trunk of the tree and we're just branches of the tree, why should we fight each other for sunlight, which is abundant for all? So it's not that I'm falling in line with that tribe. It's just that's what it symbolizes for me. It just reminds me of that. So like when I want to slap shit at somebody, I just somebody insults me, I just like, okay. Scott, thank you. He spoke to me inside myself and said, because the spirit, I ain't gonna read the rest of that, but he spoke to you inside yourself. That's the thing of every person who claims any deity, every deity. They spoke inside themselves. Ain't nobody seen no deity. So that's your personal thing. Your personal experience does not make truth. But if it's truth for you and it keeps you good to go, stay with it, my guy. What books would you recommend for beginners after only reading the KVJ? It depends on what your goal is. Tell me what your goal is. Ooh, it's starting to get a little chilly. I got the window open. Let's turn the heat on. Even though I am going out to the fire pit as soon as we're finished here in about 15 minutes. I will be, because I got to make some other videos, but the fire pit will get. What my man Glenn said. The question is, wherein lies the prison in the physical body or the mind, or might be surprised to find not all anchors drag on the depths, but might be only thing keeping ourselves afloat. So I think for me, the prison is in both the physical body and the mind. There's only so much. There's only so much escape we can have of the mind from the physical body. We do live in this gross matter plane, and so there's only so much we can do with the physical body. But the biggest prison is the prison of your mind. What you what you believe and perceive becomes your reality. And if that reality keeps you entrapped, keeps you hunkered down, then that's where you're going to stay. But to be anchored, anchoring is only good when you don't have sails. But when you have sails or an engine, it's time to raise anchor and head for the destination and head in a destination. Yes, it's cold in Georgia. It's like, what are we talking about today? What we got? What we got? What we got? It is 53 degrees. It's cold. It's cold in these. Yes, it's cold. And then the wind be blowing sometimes. It's cold. 53 degrees. Nope, go back a little further. Reincarnation goes before Kabbalah. Reincarnation, you can go back to the Indus religion culture taught about reincarnation before the Kabbalah ever came about. Uh, I know you ain't. I don't know if you just getting on here, Christian, and I know you ain't because I ain't seen nothing from you, unless I just one of the ones I done skip. But 53 degrees is not perfect. God dang it. Y'all can freeze y'all asses off in PA, Pennsylvania, all y'all want to. 53 degrees is cold. Yeah, it would feel good, yes. But see, that's perceptions. For me, 53 degrees is too damn cold. I need a nice 70. It's some bullshit. $20 degrees. Oh, I've never heard of. So, quad ball. I've never heard that term before. It's a new term for me. Yeah, man. See, Angel, there's something wrong with you. I'm telling you right now, there's something wrong with you. Let me tell you what's wrong with you, Angel. You live in Pittsburgh. I mean, not Pittsburgh, in Pennsylvania. And there's something wrong with a bunch of y'all. Any human being that chooses to live where it gets down in the 20s, there's something wrong with y'all. Y'all got a problem. That don't make no sense to me. It's cold. Something wrong. I don't know what's wrong with y'all, but something wrong with y'all. See? Something wrong. Something wrong with Matt. Why would you live somewhere where it get 46 degrees? Y'all got problems. Something ain't right. Yeah, I'm gonna leave y'all alone. Check out the tower. And people of the Comanche tribe of South Africa around the Great Lakes region. They were the original human family and agriculturists. Okay, that's something to research. Oh, you know what? But she was saying that what she had wrote, because it was spelled different with the Q, was actually from the Indus religion. It was a new. I hadn't never seen that term before, so I have to look it up. So some crazy penguin wannabes. I understand. Go to hell. Mm-mm. It was so nice. It was 60. What last weekend over the holiday weekend? It was like 69 degrees, 67, 66, 60. I think it got up to 68. That was nice. I had top down and everything. Went to the beach. But we are about to get off here, guys. I appreciate everybody. I know normally this conversation of what's wrong with the Bible happens on Tuesdays, but of course, I had told everybody last week that I'll be driving on Tuesday, and we didn't even leave till I actually went. Nope, couldn't. But we was getting everything set up for when we moved to Wilmington at the end of next month. So we didn't do a live. Didn't get home until about 11 o'clock at night, so that's why we didn't do a live Tuesday. Today is what's today? Today Wednesday. So tomorrow we'll be going live again around noon. I have no idea what we're going to talk about tomorrow, but that's why we did What's Wrong with the Bible on today, because we missed it on Tuesday. I might do one on Friday because I do want to do at least 3 a week. I do want to do 3 a week. So we might do a live. We'll do a live on Friday. I know I got to go to a doctor's appointment, but that'll be over. I'll be back home. Yeah. So we'll do one on Friday at around noon as well. I appreciate everybody for sharing the channels. What? It's Thursday? You sure? Oh. Right. It is Thursday because Angelina was asking me was I going to do a live yesterday, but after moving furniture and clearing rooms and all that stuff and driving Tuesday, I was tired as hell, so I didn't do it one on. So that's why I didn't do one yesterday. Today is Thursday. Oh, thank y'all, Debbie and Sheila. Damn, today Thursday. Oh, so I gotta go tomorrow to the doctor's appointment. God damn. So we will be doing a live tomorrow. And we might do one again either Saturday night or Sunday night because I know Angelina has a class to do. But we'll see. But anyway, I appreciate everybody. Please continue to share the channel. Please join and subscribe to the Facebook channel, YouTube channel, primarily the Facebook channel. Keep sharing all the other videos. I did publish a video real quick before we started this one. I'm gonna go outside and publish a couple more after I get my fire pit burning. So I appreciate you guys. I look forward to our next encounter. What is that? There's something about that Chalcedon in 451. I can't remember exactly what it is. I'll look it up. Maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. But it's been fun. I enjoy you guys. You know, if I've insulted anybody, it was never most of it. If I insult you, it's not my intent unless I tell you that I'm about to insult you. I know I went on one earlier, yeah. So I appreciate y'all. And I look forward to more and more conversations. So always remember you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. And see you guys later.